Marcus Hale stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse office in downtown Chicago, staring at a city he'd conquered but couldn't enjoy. 42 years old, self-made billionaire, founder and CEO of Hale Technologies, a company worth $3.7 billion. He had everything. Private jets, homes on 3 continents, a car collection worth more than most people would earn in 10 lifetimes. And none of it meant a damn thing. His phone buzzed. The 23rd Nanny agency this year. He didn't bother answering. He already knew what they'd say. The same thing the other 22 had said. "Mr. Hale, we're sorry, but we can no longer provide services for your household. Your sons require a level of care that exceeds our capabilities." Translation: Your children are impossible. Marcus closed his eyes against the familiar ache in his chest. His twins, Ethan and Noah, 5 years old, diagnosed with severe autism at age 2, non-verbal, prone to violent meltdowns, terrified of strangers, locked inside worlds no one else could reach. And it was all because of her. 3 years ago, his wife Amanda walked out, didn't leave a note, didn't say goodbye to the boys, just disappeared while Marcus was on a business trip to Tokyo. He came home to an empty master bedroom, her closet cleared out, and 2 screaming toddlers who didn't understand where Mama went. The divorce papers arrived 2 weeks later. She didn't ask for custody, didn't even ask for visitation, just wanted half of everything and her freedom. Marcus gave her both without a fight because what was the point? She'd already made her choice. The twins deteriorated after that. Ethan stopped making eye contact completely, spent hours lining up toy cars in perfect rows, screamed if anyone moved them even slightly. Noah developed severe sensory issues, couldn't stand certain textures or sounds, would beat his head against the wall until Marcus had to physically restrain him. 23 nannies. 23 trained professionals with degrees in special education, behavioral therapy, child psychology. Every single one of them quit within a week. The last one, Patricia, lasted 4 days. Highly recommended, 20 years of experience working with autistic children. She'd sent Marcus an email at 3 in the morning on her 4th night. "I cannot continue. Noah bit me hard enough to draw blood. Ethan destroyed my phone when I tried to redirect his behavior. I understand they have special needs, but I also need to protect myself. I'm sorry." Marcus's assistant knocked on the door. "Mr. Hale, the staffing agency is online too. Tell them I'm in a meeting." "Sir, they say it's important. They have 1 more person." Marcus's laugh came out bitter. "1 more person to quit in 3 days? No thank you." "Sir, she's not exactly a nanny." Marcus turned around. "What is she?" "A housekeeper. She's been cleaning homes for 12 years, no formal education in childcare. But she heard about your situation through her church and specifically asked if she could try." "A housekeeper?" Marcus rubbed his face. "With no training? To handle 2 severely autistic children that trained specialists can't manage. She said she's worked with difficult situations before, and honestly, sir, she's the only person willing to try." Marcus looked back out the window at the city below. People rushing to jobs, to families, to lives that made sense. His life used to make sense. Before Amanda left, before his sons disappeared into themselves, before he became the man who had everything except the thing that mattered most. "What's her name?" "Diane Mitchell." "Send her." The Hale residence in Lincoln Park wasn't just a home, it was a fortress. 8,000 square feet, private security, gates that required 3 forms of identification to pass through, and cameras everywhere. Marcus had installed them after Nanny number 7. She'd claimed the boys were unmanageable and dangerous. But Marcus had reviewed the footage and seen her roughly grabbing Ethan, yanking Noah by the arm hard enough to leave bruises, screaming at them when they wouldn't comply. He'd fired her immediately and pressed charges. The lawsuit was still pending. After that, every room had cameras, every hallway, every play area, the kitchen, the twins' bedroom. Not the bathrooms, Marcus wasn't a monster. But everywhere else, high-definition cameras with audio recording, feeding directly to his phone, his laptop, his tablet. He could watch from anywhere. From the office, from the car, from 3,000 miles away in a hotel room. He watched obsessively, compulsively, because trust was a luxury he could no longer afford. The betrayals played in his memory like a highlight reel of human failure. Nanny number 3, stealing jewelry and prescription medication. Nanny number 9, posting videos of the twins' meltdowns on social media for sympathy and likes. Nanny number 12, leaving them alone for 2 hours to meet her boyfriend, claiming she'd just stepped outside for fresh air. Nanny number 15, caught on camera laughing with a friend on the phone, calling his sons little psychos and genetic mistakes. Nanny number 19, who locked them in their room for 5 hours as punishment for a meltdown. Each betrayal had carved away another piece of Marcus's ability to trust. Each one had taught him that people couldn't be relied on, that everyone had a breaking point, that his sons, beautiful, broken, unreachable, were too much for anyone to love. So he watched. Every single night, after the boys were asleep, Marcus sat in his home office with a glass of whiskey and reviewed footage, watching for signs of abuse, neglect, cruelty, watching for the moment when whoever he'd hired that week would reveal their true nature, watching for the inevitable betrayal. His head of security, Thomas, had tried to talk to him about it once. "Sir, with all due respect, this isn't healthy. You need to sleep. You need to trust someone." Marcus had looked at him with dead eyes. "Trust gets my sons hurt. Surveillance keeps them safe. I'll choose surveillance." That was 6 months ago. Marcus still didn't sleep much, still watched the footage every night, still waited for the other shoe to drop, because it always did. Diane Mitchell stood outside the Hale residence at exactly 7 in the morning, looking at a house that cost more than she'd earn in 3 lifetimes. 41 years old, wearing her best interview clothes, a simple navy dress she'd bought at Target 5 years ago, low heels that pinched her feet, hair pulled back in a neat bun. In her worn purse, she carried the same things she'd carried for 12 years. Cleaning supplies she preferred over what clients provided, a small Bible with passages underlined in 4 different colors, a photo of her son, and a prayer journal where she'd written this morning's entry. "Lord, if this is where you're sending me, prepare the way, give me strength, give me wisdom, and please, please let me be enough." The gate intercom buzzed. "State your name and purpose." "Diane Mitchell. I'm here to interview for the childcare position." A pause. Then the gates opened. The house was beautiful and cold. Marble floors, high ceilings, expensive art on walls that looked like they'd never been touched by human hands. Everything perfect, everything sterile, everything screaming money but whispering loneliness. A man in a suit met her at the door. Not Marcus Hale she'd seen pictures online. This was someone else. Older, formal. "Miss Mitchell, I'm Thomas, head of security. Mr. Hale is running late. Please wait in the sitting room." Diane followed him through hallways that echoed, past rooms filled with furniture that looked like it had never been sat in. The sitting room was decorated in whites and greys, beautiful and lifeless. She sat on the edge of a white couch, hands folded in her lap, and prayed silently while she waited. 20 minutes later, Marcus Hale walked in. Diane stood immediately. He was tall, well-built, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. But it was his eyes that caught her attention, exhausted, haunted, the eyes of a man carrying weight he couldn't put down. "Miss Mitchell." His voice was flat, professional, completely devoid of hope. "Please sit." She sat. He didn't. "I'm going to be direct with you," Marcus said, pacing. "My sons are severely autistic, non-verbal, prone to violent meltdowns that can last hours. They don't respond to traditional behavioral interventions. They've driven away 23 trained professionals in 3 years. The last nanny quit because one of my sons bit her." Diane listened quietly. "You have no formal training in special education or childcare. You're a housekeeper. So I need you to explain to me why you think you can handle what 23 specialists couldn't." Diane took a breath. "Mr. Hale, may I be honest with you? Please. I don't think I can handle them." Marcus stopped pacing, looked at her sharply. "I don't have fancy degrees," Diane continued. "I don't know all the technical terms or the latest behavioral strategies. I clean houses for a living. But I do know something about loving people that the world has given up on." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I have a son," Diane said quietly. "Michael. He's 16 now. When he was 7, he was diagnosed with severe ADHD and oppositional defiant disorder. The school said he was unteachable, put him in special classes, recommended medication that turned him into a zombie, told me maybe I should consider residential placement because he was too much." She met Marcus's eyes. "I didn't give up on him. Not when he destroyed his classroom. Not when he got suspended 5 times in 1 year. Not when other parents asked me to keep him away from their kids because he was dangerous. I just loved him. Every single day. even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. "Where is he now?" Marcus asked. "On a roll. Junior year. Wants to be an engineer." Diane's voice softened. "He still has rough days, still struggles, but he's not a lost cause. Never was. He just needed someone to believe that when nobody else did." The room was silent. "Your sons aren't too much, Mr. Hale," Diane said. "They're just hurting. And hurt children need patience, not credentials. They need consistency, not strategies. They need someone who won't leave when it gets hard." Marcus studied her face for a long moment. 23 people have promised me they wouldn't leave. All 23 did. "I'm not promising I won't leave," Diane said honestly. "I'm promising I won't leave easy. There's a difference." Something flickered in Marcus's eyes. Not hope that would be too much, but maybe the ghost of it. "1 week," he said. "Trial period. You'll live here Monday through Friday. I'll pay you 4 times the standard rate. But I need to be clear about something." He pulled out his phone, pulled up an app, showed her the screen. Multiple camera feeds showing different rooms of the house. "I have cameras everywhere. I will be watching. Not because I don't trust you specifically, but because I don't trust anyone anymore. If I see anything that concerns me, you're done. Do you understand?" "I understand." "Do you have a problem with being watched?" Diane looked at the camera feeds, then back at Marcus. "Mr. Hale, if you need to watch to feel safe, then watch. I'm not here to hide. I'm here to help." Marcus seemed surprised by that answer. Most people got defensive about the cameras, talked about privacy and dignity and trust. "When can you start?" "Right now, if you need me. The boys are upstairs. They haven't eaten breakfast yet. Previous nanny left emergency meal instructions, but they won't eat what she prepares anyway. They're very particular about textures and—" "Mr. Hale," Diane interrupted gently. "May I go meet them?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Thomas will show you to their room. Fair warning, they don't respond well to strangers. Especially women. They associate women with abandonment." "Understood." Marcus watched her follow Thomas out of the room, watched her walk with steady, unhurried steps, watched her pause at the bottom of the stairs and close her eyes for just a moment, praying, probably before heading up. Then he pulled out his phone and opened the camera feed for the twins' room. If this woman was going to fail, he wanted to see exactly how it happened. CTA has shown. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The twins' room was large, carefully designed for children with sensory needs. Soft lighting, padded corners, minimal clutter, toys organized in labeled bins. Everything expensive, everything therapeutic, everything useless. Ethan sat in the corner by the window. A row of toy cars lined up in front of him with mathematical precision. Red, blue, green, yellow, red, blue, green, yellow. The pattern repeated perfectly. His blonde hair fell over his eyes. He didn't look up when Thomas opened the door. Noah was on the floor near the closet, rocking back and forth, hands over his ears even though the room was silent. His matching blonde hair was uncombed, his pajamas twisted around his small body. He'd been rocking for 20 minutes, ever since he woke up. "Boys," Thomas said carefully, "this is Miss Diane. She's going to be staying with you for a while." No response, not even acknowledgement that someone had spoken. Thomas looked at Diane apologetically. "I'll be right outside if you need anything. There's an emergency button by the door if—" "Thank you, Thomas. I'll be fine." He left, closing the door softly behind him. Diane stood just inside the room, not moving, not approaching, just observing. She watched Ethan's careful car arrangement, watched Noah's rhythmic rocking, watched 2 beautiful boys locked inside themselves. In his office downtown, Marcus had the feed pulled up on his laptop. He watched Diane standing there, doing nothing, just standing, waiting. Most nannies immediately tried to engage, talked too much, too loud, too cheerful, approached too quickly, tried to redirect, to correct, to fix. Diane did none of that. She slowly lowered herself to the floor, not near the boys, just against the wall opposite them. She sat cross-legged, hands in her lap, and began humming, soft, low. A hymn Marcus didn't recognize, but that sounded old, weathered, like it had been carried through generations. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. She didn't sing the words, just hummed the melody, steady and unhurried. Ethan's hands paused on the red car, just for a second. Noah's rocking slowed slightly. Diane kept humming, kept sitting, kept being present, without demanding presence in return. 5 minutes passed. 10. Marcus found himself leaning closer to the screen, watching his sons with an intensity that made his chest ache. Then Diane did something that made his breath catch. She reached into her purse slowly, deliberately, and pulled out a small toy. Not expensive, not therapeutic, just a simple wooden puzzle piece, a blue elephant. She set it on the floor in front of her, not toward the boys, just in her own space. Then she picked up another piece from her purse, a red elephant. She fitted them together with a soft click. Ethan's head turned, just slightly. Diane added another piece. Yellow elephant. Click. Noah stopped rocking. His hands came down from his ears. Diane continued assembling the puzzle, piece by piece, humming her hymn, not looking at the boys, not inviting them, just existing in the same space they existed in. Then, something impossible happened. Ethan stood up. Slowly, carefully, he walked toward Diane. Not close, he stopped about 5 feet away, but he walked toward her, his eyes fixed on the puzzle. Diane's humming continued, steady, unchanged. She added another piece. Ethan took another step, then another. Marcus was standing now, phone in one hand, laptop screen in front of him, barely breathing. Ethan stopped 3 feet away from Diane, reached out one small hand, pointed at a green elephant piece. Diane looked at it, then at Ethan. She didn't speak, didn't smile too big, didn't make sudden movements, just picked up the green piece and held it out to him. Ethan took it. Their fingers touched for half a second. He turned the piece over in his hands, studying it with the same intensity he gave his car patterns. Then he looked back at the puzzle, back at Diane, and then he knelt down. Not next to her, still maintaining distance, but close enough to see the puzzle clearly. He held out the green piece toward her. Diane took it gently and placed it in the puzzle. Click. From across the room, Noah had stopped rocking completely. He was watching his brother, watching this stranger, watching something he hadn't seen in 3 years. Ethan, interacting with another human being. Diane pulled out another piece, purple elephant. She held it up, let Ethan see it, then placed it in the puzzle herself. Then she pulled out 2 more pieces, held them both out toward Ethan. Let him choose. He took the orange one, placed it carefully in the puzzle. Click. And for the first time in 6 months, Ethan made a sound. Not a word, not a scream, just a small hum. Content, pleased. Marcus's phone slipped from his hand and clattered on his desk. In the twins' room, Noah started moving. Slowly, cautiously, he crawled toward Diane and Ethan. Stopped about 6 feet away, watched. Diane didn't acknowledge him directly, didn't pressure him to join. Just kept working the puzzle with Ethan, kept humming her hymn, kept creating a space that felt safe enough to enter. 10 more minutes passed. Noah moved closer, 5 feet away, 4. Diane set down a puzzle piece next to her, within Noah's reach if he wanted it. She didn't look at him, didn't wait for him to take it, just kept working with Ethan. Noah stared at the piece, at Diane's hands, gentle and slow, at his brother's face, more relaxed than Noah had seen it in forever. Then Noah reached out and took the piece. Diane's humming hitched for just a second, a barely audible catch in her throat, but she recovered quickly. She simply held out her hand, palm up, offering to take the piece from him if he wanted to give it. Noah held the piece for a long moment, then placed it in her hand. Diane added it to the puzzle. "Thank you," she whispered, so quiet it was almost silent. Noah didn't respond, but he didn't move away either. The 3 of them sat there on the floor of that expensive room in that cold house, working a simple wooden puzzle together. 2 boys who hadn't connected with another human being in 3 years, and 1 woman who'd walked in with nothing but patience and a prayer. In his office, Marcus Hale stood staring at his laptop screen with tears streaming down his face. His sons were engaging, actually engaging, with a stranger, with a woman who'd been in their room for less than 30 minutes. He watched Ethan hand Diane another piece, watched Noah move 1 inch closer, watched this woman who had no training, no credentials, no reason to believe she could reach them, somehow creating a space where his unreachable sons were reaching back. And for the first time in 3 years, Marcus Hale felt something he'd thought was dead. Hope. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of Marcus watching footage obsessively, waiting for the moment Diane would break, would quit, would prove she was just like all the others. It never came. Instead, he watched miracles unfold on camera feeds. Week 1. Ethan and Noah started eating breakfast. Not the specialized meals. Nutritionists had designed simple oatmeal with honey that Diane made while humming. They sat at the table with her, not looking at her, but present. Actually present. Week 2. Noah let Diane touch his hair, just briefly, smoothing it back from his forehead. He didn't scream, didn't flinch, just sat there and let it happen. Week 3. Ethan brought Diane a toy car, placed it in her hand. The first gift he'd given anyone since his mother left. Marcus documented everything, saved the footage, rewatched it late at night, trying to understand what she was doing that 23 professionals couldn't. The answer was simple and impossible. She wasn't trying to fix them, she was just loving them. His staff noticed the change too. Mrs. Chen, the housekeeper who came twice a week, pulled Marcus aside. "Mr. Hale, I don't know what that woman is doing, but your boys smiled at me yesterday." Smiled. "I've worked here 2 years and never seen that. Even Thomas mentioned it." "Sir, the house feels different. Lighter somehow." Marcus knew exactly what they meant. He felt it too when he came home in the evenings. The oppressive silence was gone, replaced by soft sounds, Diane's humming, the boys' occasional vocalizations, the gentle rhythm of a home that was learning to breathe again. One night, Marcus came home early from the office. He stood in the hallway outside the twins' room, listening. Diane was singing, not humming, actually singing, words about grace and mercy and love that never fails. And underneath her voice, he heard something that stopped his heart. The boys were humming along. Marcus pressed his palm against the wall, steadied himself. His sons, who didn't speak, who barely made sounds, were humming with this woman who'd been a stranger a month ago. He pulled out his phone, checked the camera feed, needed to see it with his own eyes. There they were. Diane sitting on the floor, Ethan and Noah on either side of her, all 3 of them humming together. The boy's hands rested near hers, not touching, but close. Closer than they'd let anyone get in years. Marcus's throat tightened. He wanted to walk in, wanted to be part of that moment. But fear held him back. Fear that his presence would shatter whatever fragile peace they'd built. So he stood in the hallway and watched through his phone like he always did, close enough to see, too afraid to touch. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. Marcus left work at 2 for a meeting in Milwaukee, told Diane he'd be gone until the next morning. But the meeting ended early, the clients rescheduled last minute, so Marcus drove back to Chicago, arrived home just before 6. The house was quiet when he opened the front door. Not the dead silence from before, a peaceful quiet, the kind that meant everyone was content. He set down his briefcase, loosened his tie, and headed toward the twins' room to check in. As he approached, he heard Diane's voice. Not singing this time, talking. "That's right, sweetheart. One more step. You're doing so good, so good." Marcus's pulse quickened. He moved closer to the doorway, staying out of sight. "Come on, baby. Come to me. You can do it." He pulled out his phone with shaking hands, opened the camera app. The angle from the ceiling camera would show him what was happening. The feed loaded, and Marcus forgot how to breathe. Noah was standing in the middle of the room, not sitting, not rocking, standing upright, balanced on his own 2 feet without holding on to anything. Noah hadn't stood independently in over a year. His muscle tone was weak, his balance poor. Every specialist said he'd need intense physical therapy, maybe years of it, to develop the strength and coordination to stand alone. But he was standing, right there, standing, and Diane was kneeling about 6 feet away from him, arms outstretched, encouraging him. "That's it, Noah. Walk to me, baby. I know you can do it. Just one step." Noah's little face was scrunched in concentration. His legs trembled, his arms stretched out for balance. Then he moved. 1 foot lifted off the ground, moved forward, planted. 1 step. Diane's face lit up like the sun. "Yes. Oh yes, Noah. 1 more. Come on, sweetheart." Noah took another step, then another, wobbly, uncertain, but moving. Behind him, Ethan sat watching his brother with wide eyes. Marcus's phone slipped from his hands, hit the hallway floor with a crack that split the screen. But he didn't notice, couldn't notice, could barely see through the tears flooding his vision. He stumbled forward, caught himself against the doorframe, and then he saw it with his own eyes, not through a screen, not through a camera, his son walking. Noah made it to Diane and collapsed into her arms. She caught him, pulled him close, rocked him back and forth. You did it. You did it, sweet boy. I'm so proud of you." He walked. Marcus's voice came out broken, barely above a whisper. Diane's head snapped up. She hadn't known he was there. "Mr. Hale, He walked. Louder now, shaking. "My son walked." Noah turned in Diane's arms, saw his father, and instead of the usual blank stare, instead of looking through him like he was invisible, Noah reached out. Toward Marcus. Actually reached out his small arms toward his father. Marcus's knees buckled. He dropped to the floor right there in the doorway, pressing his hands against his face, shoulders shaking with sobs he couldn't control. Diane set Noah down gently, whispered something to him. Then she guided both boys toward Marcus. "Boys," she said softly, "your daddy's happy. These are happy tears. Go on." Ethan approached first. Slowly, cautiously, he reached out and touched Marcus's shoulder. Just one small hand, resting there. Then Noah, wobbling on unsteady legs, he walked the 3 steps to his father and placed his hand on Marcus's other shoulder. Marcus pulled them both in, wrapped his arms around his sons for the first time in months, actually held them. And they didn't pull away, didn't scream, didn't fight. They let him hold them. "How?" Marcus choked out, looking up at Diane through blurred vision. "How did you do this?" Diane's eyes were wet too. "I didn't do anything, Mr. Hale. I just believed they could, and I waited until they were ready to believe it too." The doctors said. "The doctors don't know your sons like God does." Her voice was gentle but firm. "They see limitations. God sees possibilities." Marcus looked at his boys, really looked at them, their faces more alive than he'd seen in 3 years, their eyes more present, their small bodies relaxed in his arms instead of rigid with fear. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." That night changed everything. Marcus started coming home at 3 instead of 6, then 2, then noon. He'd claim he had calls to take from home, emails to answer, but really, he just wanted to be there, wanted to watch Diane work with the boys, wanted to learn from her, wanted to be part of their healing instead of just witnessing it through screens. Diane taught him how to be still with them, how to sit without demanding engagement, how to hum instead of talk, how to wait for them to come to him instead of forcing connection. "They'll show you when they're ready," she told him one afternoon as they sat on the floor with wooden puzzles scattered around them. "You just have to be ready to see it." 2 months after Noah's first steps, Ethan spoke. Just one word. More. He was eating blueberries that Diane had cut up, and he looked at her and said, "More." Diane cried. Marcus cried. Even Noah made an excited sound. After that, words came slowly but steadily. "Mama" for Diane it slipped out one morning and she didn't correct him. "Dada" for Marcus. Yes, no, please. Simple words, basic words. But words that proved his sons were in there, had always been in there, just waiting for someone to believe they could come out. Noah started walking regularly, still wobbly, still uncertain, but mobile, independent. The physical therapist Marcus hired was stunned. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I've never seen progress like this." The boys still had hard days, days when Ethan lined up cars for hours and wouldn't engage, days when Noah's sensory issues overwhelmed him and he screamed until his voice was raw, days when both of them melted down and nothing could reach them. But Diane never wavered, never threatened to quit, never made them feel like their struggles were too much. "Bad days don't mean bad children," she'd tell Marcus when he got frustrated. "It just means they're human, like the rest of us." 3 months in, Marcus called her to his office after the boys were asleep. His hands shook as he pulled out an envelope. "Diane, I need to talk to you about something." She sat down, face calm but concerned. "Is everything okay?" "Everything is more than okay. That's why I need to have this conversation." Marcus set the envelope on his desk. "That's a new contract. It changes your title from temporary housekeeper to permanent family specialist. It quadruples your current salary. It includes full benefits, retirement, everything." Diane's eyes widened. "But that's not actually what I want to offer you." Marcus took a breath. "I want to offer you a home, not a job, a home. I want you to be part of this family, not as an employee, as family. Mr. Hale." "Marcus, please." "Marcus." Her voice was soft. "I appreciate this more than you know. But I need you to understand something. I didn't come here for money. I came here because God told me to, because I saw 2 boys who needed someone to believe in them when the whole world had given up. I know. That's exactly why I'm asking you to stay. Not for me, for them. For Ethan and Noah. They need you. They love you. You're more of a mother to them than—" His voice caught. Diane reached across the desk, took his hand. "I'm not going anywhere, Marcus, with or without a contract, with or without a salary increase. I'm staying because I love those boys like they're my own. And I'm staying because this broken family has become my family too." Marcus's throat was too tight to speak. "But," Diane continued, squeezing his hand, "I will accept that contract, not because I need it, but because it lets me know you see me as family too, and that means everything." 6 months after Diane walked through the door, the Hale house was unrecognizable. Laughter echoed through hallways that used to hold only silence. The twins' playroom was messy, with toys actually being played with, instead of arranged in untouched patterns. Photos appeared on walls, new photos, recent photos, of Marcus and Diane, and the boys at the park, at the museum, having breakfast together. The boys started a special education program at a nearby school. They struggled, needed support, had difficult days, but they were learning, growing, connecting. And Marcus was learning too, learning how to be present, how to love without fear, how to trust that healing was possible even when everything looked hopeless. One Sunday morning, Diane was getting ready for church. She'd asked Marcus several times if he and the boys wanted to join. He'd always declined. But that morning, when she came downstairs dressed in her Sunday best, she found Marcus in a suit with Ethan and Noah in matching button-up shirts. "We'd like to come," Marcus said quietly. "If the invitation's still open." Diane smiled, and it was like sunrise. Always. They went together, all 4 of them. And when the pastor asked if anyone needed prayer, Marcus raised his hand. He stood up in that church full of strangers and said, "I need to thank God for sending someone to my family when we were drowning, for teaching me that sometimes the answer to our prayers doesn't look like what we expect, for showing me that love doesn't quit when things get hard." He looked at Diane, tears streaming down his face. "And I need to thank God for teaching me that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the person who shows up when everyone else walks away." The church said amen. Diane wiped her eyes, and Ethan and Noah, sitting in the pew between them, reached out and held hands. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story. That night, after the boys were in bed, Marcus and Diane sat on the back porch watching the stars. "You saved us," Marcus said quietly. "No," Diane shook her head. "God saved you. I was just willing to be used." "Same thing." "Not quite," she smiled, "but I'll take the compliment." They sat in comfortable silence. Then Marcus spoke again. "I spent 3 years watching my sons through cameras because I was too afraid to actually be with them, too afraid I'd fail them like I failed at keeping their mother here, too afraid that love wasn't enough. And now I know that love is the only thing that's ever been enough. Everything else, the money, the specialists, the protocols, none of it mattered. All they needed was someone to love them unconditionally, someone to stay." Diane reached over and took his hand. "We all need that, Marcus. Every single one of us." From inside, they heard a small sound. Noah, probably having a dream. They both tensed, ready to go to him. But then they heard Ethan's voice, quiet but clear. "Okay, Noah, okay." Comforting his brother, taking care of him. Marcus and Diane looked at each other and smiled. "They're going to be okay," Diane said. "We're all going to be okay," Marcus corrected. And sitting there under the stars, holding hands, listening to his sons comfort each other in the house that used to be a tomb, Marcus Hale finally believed it. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It happens in moments, in puzzle pieces placed by small hands, in first steps taken toward outstretched arms, in words spoken after years of silence, in love that stays when staying is hard. And sometimes, the person who saves you isn't the one with all the credentials. Sometimes it's the one with all the faith. The end. If this story reminded you that broken doesn't mean finished, that love can reach the unreachable, that God still works miracles through ordinary hands doing extraordinary things, then share it. Subscribe to this channel for more stories of hope, healing, and the power of love that refuses to quit. Comment where you're watching from. Your story matters too.